Hello, and welcome to Was It Good? Today, we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories because everybody loves a good conspiracy theory. Actually, a lot of people don't because a lot of them are crocks of shit. I am your host, Krishna, and I am joined by my two younger brothers, Ravi and Arjuna. Guys, welcome. How are you doing? A couple weeks out from Christmas on this fine December day in the year of our Lord, 2025.
The 2025 is the Lord?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay, my conspiracy theory is that the years are actually God's.
Oh.
Whenever I hear Lord or Our Lord, did you guys ever watch the Three Body Problem on Netflix?
Yes.
No,
And they
I know of
refer to
it, but I never watched it.
They refer. It's not really a crazy spoiler, but the crazy people, if you will, refer to the aliens as Our Lord because they have like a connective mind or whatever. So anytime I hear that, I'm just like, oh, Christian is talking about aliens.
Yeah.
Cool.
Whoa. I mean, that's a great little nugget for what is coming up. I don't know. So real quick, Ravi pitched this idea for this episode last week. Each of us are bringing a conspiracy theory to the table, and we're going to present it to the other two. And that's basically the structure of the show. And then if we have time at the end, we might talk a little Patriots, maybe a little Christmas, a little Stranger Things. Possibly. We'll see. We'll see how long this goes. I assume it won't be too long, but we will see. Now, I have an interesting way to decide who will go first. I have in my hand a D6 or a regular.
This isn't my conspiracy. That's not a real dice.
Maybe it's loaded. Who knows? Anyway, on a 1 or a 2, I will go first. On a 3 or a 4, Ravi will go first. And a 5 or a 6, Arjuna will go first. Okay, so I'm going to roll this dice, and this will decide our fates. It's a 6. Arjuna.
Damn.
You have drawn the lucky go first here. So go ahead. There's no hard and fast rules to this. Go ahead, present your conspiracy theory to us and the audience.
I failed the assignment just to start because
hey, I didn't even give the parameters. You didn't have to out yourself like this, so go ahead.
No. I wanted to out myself because I signed on quite late to this because I just moved and couldn't find any of my shit. Nothing worked. It was quite frustrating. Frustrating morning, but we're here. So I sign on, and Christian's like, "Don't forget to put your share on." And I was like, "For what?" He's like, "For your conspiracy." I was like, What do you mean? He's like, you made a presentation, right? It's like, it's all oral, baby. And then here we are. So I don't have a hard and fast presentation. But what I do have is the gift of terrible gab. So here we go. Here's my conspiracy theory for the Was It Good podcast of December 2025. I could have gone a lot of ways with this. I had a lot of different ideas here. Honestly, I've gone back and forth multiple times. But I'm going to go with a simple one. I'm going to go sports because I figured you guys wouldn't go with sports. You know?
That's fair.
And so I have decided to talk about the NFL and how it is, in fact, scripted. But not in the way that you think. Right? There's always been this joke. It's a very big internet joke that the NFL is scripted. They have script writers. Games are decided. I don't think it goes that deep. But what I do think is that it is a business, right? There are 32 owners in this business. Owners, they don't care about winning. They care about money. They are greedy. They want to make a profit. They want to turn a profit. And so do I think that the 32 owners meet in a room and discuss who's going to win and how the things are going to go? No, I don't think that is going to happen. I don't think they're that organized. I don't think they care that much. But I do think that there are kind of informal decisions, informal discussions of how things will go, right? Okay, these teams are going to spend money in free agency. These teams are going to do X, Y, and Z. These are the things that are going to happen. I believe that is true, right? Because it is about the business perspective in terms of, okay, we need this market to do better. This market's down. We need to make this trade. We need to make this free agent signing. I do think some of that stuff happens. Now, there are rules, right? There are rules of there's a cap space, you can't have these tampering discussions. Tampering happens all the time, right? I think that's not a conspiracy, that's just fact. And that's not true in sports, that's true in pretty much every facet of life. Do you think that, Tom Brady, when he was signing away from the Patriots, never had discussions with any teams before he became a free agent? Of course not. Of course he did. Of course that was like part of the decision. Now, do I think the NFL and owners were involved in that type of discussion? Yes, I do. I don't think there's any God way Robert Kraft was like, Tom Brady could go to an AFC team. Hell no. He wasn't going to let that happen, right? They had informal discussions of where can he go, what makes sense, what is good for the business of football in the NFL. And I do think part of that was he needs to go to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a good market, not a great market. It's a team that could be boosted. There are obvious things going on. Tampa Bay, also, by the way, that year that Brady went and won the Super Bowl in his first year, was hosting a Super Bowl. Do I think that's a coincidence? No, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that was part of calculated plans.
So
I don't think this is just true for NFL. I think this is true for sports pretty much globally in all sports.
You have a better example in the NBA recently with the
Luka trade for sure.
The Luka and then the Cooper flag. Getting getting the one pick, which is that's absurd. That's absolutely like, how is that not tampering or whatever?
For sure.
Wait, before we like dive in and ask like all our questions, and I think with any good conspiracy, there should be a good Q&A, and come with some receipts and things. Do you have any other examples before we move into like the Q&A? Because I do have a bigger question, maybe statement I want to ask.
Yeah, I think like in baseball, Shohei Ohtani going to the Los Angeles Dodgers, for example, is another big one where it's like, this is the premier baseball player of all time. He needs to go to one of the biggest markets. He had settled with the Angels. It made sense for him to go to Los Angeles in terms of like just where he had settled and everything. He was never going to go to a small market team necessarily. Again, there are cap rules and cap penalties and et cetera, accounting things, but there are certain teams that always spend. The Los Angeles Dodgers, for example, have maybe the most expensive payroll in at least all of baseball, maybe one of the highest in all of sports in terms of just the guaranteed monies and everything they're throwing out. I am not a CBA expert in terms of baseball, but I do know that there are supposed to be some type of penalties for the Dodgers. Now, are they actually paying those? How do those work? Are they kind of waved away because it's good for the sport? Probably. But that kind of feeds into the conspiracy, right? That things are kind of positioned to certain people at certain times. And I think there are ways to kind of buy in your system in terms of like, I'm going to get more preferential treatment in terms of like, here are the things that are going, right? Even like with, I guess the last example I'll use with football specifically, when teams move, right? And this isn't a conspiracy. This is actually hard facts, right? Let's take the Raiders, for example. When the Raiders moved from Oakland a few years ago, there were a few rumors of where they could go. They could stay in Oakland, they could move to Los Angeles, or they could move to Las Vegas. Now, the most logical thing for them to do would have been to move to Los Angeles. You guys, Ravi, you lived in Los Angeles currently. Krishna, you've lived in Los Angeles before. The most popular football team in Los Angeles are the Raiders because they were here before. There are lots of Raiders fans. It actually would have made sense for the Raiders to be one of the two teams to come here. However, that is not what the NFL wanted. They were like, we're going to help you build a new stadium in Las Vegas, and you can host a Super Bowl basically every 5 years. And that is what has happened, right? They've already hosted a Super Bowl. They have another Super Bowl on the docket for a couple years. They're basically in that rotation that they're going to be hosting Super Bowls constantly. And so that's how things are kind of leaned and slanted in terms of just making things happen. And so sports aren't as random as you think.
I actually agree with most of it. I think the only thing that I think I would push back on is in terms of the NFL and sort of loading the markets or loading. How would you explain the Cowboys then for the last 30 years? There's no way if they had that much control, there's no way they would have let the Cowboys go 40 years without a Super Bowl appearance, all those playoff misses, just the, and you can easily point to Jerry Jones just being a maniac and sabotaging perhaps his own success. But if that was true, the greater NFL would have stepped in and at least given the Cowboys more success.
And this is where I want to jump in, where I guess it's more a question, maybe statement, but is your actual conspiracy like the Jerry Jones, the Robert Kraft, they're meeting in a bunker somewhere and physically talking to each other and saying, hey, Tom Brady can't go to the AFC? Or is it like the people behind the business? And what I mean by that is the people that own the NFL teams, they have other businesses, right? They're not necessarily just walked in one day and said, here's a slap of a couple billion, I want said team. They have business experience. And from experience myself and all of us working at various corporations, it's never just one person. It's a team of analysts, researchers, a whole group of people. I think what would elevate this conspiracy and make it even more kind of interesting / like maybe a Netflix Hulu documentary type thing is if you can like reveal the actual names, like the person, the team that sat down and said, okay, let's look at the Tom Brady thing and figure out where are we placing and giving out all the scenarios. Like I would love to figure out who is that core group, because I don't think they are, to your point of it being a business, I don't think that they themselves are necessarily like on an NFL payroll. I think it's like a secondary company owned by an offshore, owned by an offshoot,
As you guys know, with owners and with any figureheads, there are huge teams behind them, right? Like Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones aren't just people, they're institutions, right? These owners are institutions. They're not making these decisions independently. They have people feeding them information, and then what makes them business owners and what makes them individuals are they parse through the information and then decide what to go for, right? So I don't think they're like meeting in a secret. I don't think Robert Kraft, Jerry Jones, Roger Goodell, and all of these owners and NFL head people are meeting in secret bunkers. I think it's actually more like obvious in that. I think, like you said, Ravi, there are teams behind that are figuring this stuff out, calculating maybe what is supposed to be success, and then making those decisions with the owners. They're feeding the information to the owners, and the owners basically have final say. And then the information is kind of parsed out. And I actually don't think it's maybe as subtle as like you think, because you've had, again, things that come out or things that seem very obvious, right? Where it's like, oh, like, why did this happen? But it's very easy to kind of make those connections. I think, Krishna, to your point, about like the Cowboys, I mean, it's a good one, but I will say what's more compelling than like a big franchise not winning? It's when they finally win, right? So maybe they're waiting for like 50 years. Maybe they're waiting for like X amount of years.
I would agree. I agree from a narrative point, but if we go back to your original statement of dollars, it makes sense.
Well, but from dollars perspective, the Cowboys are the number one NFL franchise in terms of financial success. So they actually don't need a Super Bowl win to be financially eligible or for successful, right? If you look at the New England Patriots, when Robert Kraft bought them in the 90s, they were not a like very lucrative franchise. The Kansas City Chiefs, on their most recent dynasty run, 5 Super Bowls in 6 years, were not valued at a top 10 NFL team. They are now, right? And so, like, I think you maybe pick some of those decisions based, again, off the financial stability of trying to raise the floor of some of these franchises. Like, again,
which would raise the whole NFL.
The Buffalo Bills, for example, right, have been dog shit for a long time. Now this Josh Allen era has started. They've been on the cusp. They've been on the cusp of maybe making it, maybe winning a Super Bowl. If they win a Super Bowl, their value has raised, right? They were sold to the Paglia family a few years ago. That's raised their value. They're staying in Buffalo. They've done all these things, and that franchise has gone from basement dweller of the NFL to one of the more financially successful franchises in football, right?
Totally. So, I don't know why basement dweller franchise.
Well, that's right. Well, because like even like the Cincinnati Bengals, for example, right, who may be the cheapest franchise in football, where like their practice field they have to like cross a street to get to, for example, is still obviously billions and billions of dollars, but you're raising the value of these franchises, right? So, like, why does Shedeur Sanders go to the Cleveland Browns? Because it creates buzz and excitement. It helps sell stuff, right? Why does Myles Garrett almost get the sack record in a year where the Browns aren't necessarily interesting? Again, it gives that team relevance. It helps sell jersey sales. So I think there are like the bigger ideas and there are these smaller ideas too. And I think that's where the team comes into of like, how do we make these things relevant to keep the money basically flowing into these things?
It's all just marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it. That is part of it for sure.
I mean, so to Arjuna's point of the Cowboys and their value, so the estimated revenue so far for 2025-2026 season for the NFL, the Cowboys so far, again, this is their estimates, 1.2 billion in just profits so far this year.
That seems kind of low, but
well, that's the highest. That's number one, followed by the Rams at 764.
Oh, wow, that's a big
and then
drop
our beloved
that's what
Patriots,
I'm saying.
Our beloved Patriots are number 4 at 740.
That's high.
Drake May.
So
Drake May is the number 1 Pro Bowl vote getter. So I assume he's probably highest in like jersey sales, for example, this season.
Yeah, he's also MVP candidate.
So again, from a business perspective, do the Cowboys need to win a Super Bowl? No, because guess what? They're almost doubling up the next highest in terms of in terms of profit. So like keep it going. Because honestly, you keep it going, I guarantee you, whatever year that starts to dip, the Cowboys win a Super
Bowl. See, it's interesting. That's the thing about conspiracy theories. You can't prove them.
I proved it.
But what makes them compelling is that you can't disprove it either.
Well, isn't that also part, like, I mean, I think that's a good, like, preface on all whatever conspiracy that we present is part of the reason conspiracy theories are conspiracy theories is because, and the ones that like last is because they are so difficult to prove.
Yeah. Or disprove.
Unless, in Arjuna's case, we can figure out who the people are that are actually doing it. And then we get like physical evidence.
Well, that proves it.
Meeting notes or something, it'll always be a, well, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, it is interesting. I go back and forth on scripts for sports. The whole Luka Cooper flag thing, I'm like, that kind of killed my. I haven't watched any NBA this year. Killed it. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. I've like no interest. I'm like, I don't care if it's not scripted, if it was just that moment. Doesn't matter. It might as well be WWE to me.
Damn.
The reason I do think NFL, like Arjuna said, anything that makes a lot of money, people are going to be pulling the strings. There's so much money involved, and people can lose and make millions and billions of dollars based on certain decisions. Why wouldn't the people on top ensure their own profit? It happens all the time. That's not even conspiracy theory. You can see it. It's out in the open. There's nothing anyone can do about it. What makes it, I think, harder for the NFL is that there's just so many more people involved. The NBA rosters are like 12 players, 30 teams. There's like 2 less teams in the NFL. NFL is just like there are so many people involved, and I feel like trying to coordinate all the people that you would need to coordinate.
Well, no, I mean this is really going to sound this is going to sound really, really mean. I think though, like, Juno, clarify this though, but like when you're saying it's scripted, like we're not necessarily talking about like the individual games, and even at the individual game level. And again, I'm not trying to be mean to any player or professional sports or any athlete. Like everyone that does that stuff is amazing. But with football, it's a team sport. And you're moving as a unit, and there's like usually what your head coach, your defensive coach, like there's those levels, and at certain
points,
a lot
of factors you can't control.
Right, you can easily slip something into.
Yeah.
Dictate.
Okay. Not to bring up the Patriots, right? But they've been involved in quite a few scandals, right? Spygate, Deflategate, Videogate, headphone gate, like whatever gate you want to say that they've had. Those are the types of things where it's like, I couldn't control this, and this thing kind of happened, right? Why did this happen? Why did it go this way or that way? Those are the types of things I think happen, right? I don't think they're like telling athletes to throw games. So again, I'm sure that has happened, probably from the gambling perspective or just whatever other perspective. I don't think there are like, that seems too direct, right? That seems like it's the smoking gun of like, we've got you. But yes, I think the Luka comparison is like really fair, where it's like, are things rigged and pulled in a certain way where it's like, hey, if Luka Doncic is being traded, the most exciting destination for him to go to is the Los Angeles Lakers. It has to happen. And it's going to circumvent the fairness of what the league is. Yes, I do think those things happen, right? I do think that stuff is, to me, it's not even a conspiracy. It's just there. You can see it. You can see some of these things kind of happen. And it's just like too many things that happen to be just a coincidence.
Arjuna, fantastic job. That was a hell of an opener. Created a lot of discourse. Yeah, you know what? Didn't even need the presentation.
I think honestly, I think a presentation would have downplayed it. Honestly,
yeah.
I will say,
it would come across more
guys,
inauthentic.
I will say this: we might talk about football at the end, but the Patriots are facing the Buffalo Bills this weekend. Do you think it's a coincidence that Haley Steinfeld is pregnant right before this big game?
No, I do not think it.
I don't think.
I think it's totally a coincidence.
Josh Allen has to win the game because he has to support his future child.
And the Patriots came together as a team, and they're like, you know what? Let's throw the game to help this guy. But Arjuna, real quick, you said a couple weeks ago though that the Patriots do need to lose because they need to be humbled.
Yeah.
Why can't that happen during the Bills?
I've heard a few more people come out and already defend an inevitable in their mind Patriots loss, saying this will be good for them. They need this. They need this loss.
Okay, that just sounds like people that want to be ready for the worst.
So let me clarify that position real quick. The thing I'm worried about with this team is they've been winning so much. They've had so much success. They have had some circumstances where they've been down in games and they've come back and won. The thing that I'm interested in is like if they lose a big game, like a Buffalo game or the Ravens game the week after, or even like a Jets or a Dolphins game or something, how do you respond to that adversity, right? Again, you had that at the beginning of the year when you were still kind of in this loser mentality of like, we suck, we don't win, we are losers. They're winners now. They're tied for the first seed in the AFC. They have a chance to win the division this weekend. Now, like if they lose that, are they going to unravel? Or are they going to be able to step up and course correct? That's the thing I'm still interested to see with this team because you just don't know. They're a young team.
Yeah. We'll see. The next month is huge for not just the Patriots, the entire NFL. A lot of storylines and craziness could happen in this last month. We will see. Ravi, I'm going to roll the dice again. 1 through 3, I go. 4 through 6, you go.
If it's a 7, I go again.
It's a 2. So I am going. Okay, so let me see here. I'm going to attempt to share my screen.
And it's a good plug for letting the audience know that we put this podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/wasitgood, full video in HD picture. So if you want to see the visual presentation, definitely head over there.
Christian, did you draw this background yourself?
That's
no,
AI.
Right? I went to Google.
Okay.
Image.
Oh, you did like 2006
Is
style.
our universe inside of
Ravi,
a black hole?
I'm the one presenting here. Just
short answer.
But,
no idea.
Wow. So yes, this is actually kind of a quick preface. Like Juna said, I went back and forth on a few different ones. By the way, we will have a shout out at the end of our presentations, just for everyone to go through 1 or 2 other conspiracy theories that we're thinking about. But ended up not doing. This one's actually less of a conspiracy theory. It is listed as a conspiracy theory because this theory has been around for over 100 years. And only recently has there been more scientific evidence to support it. So kind of like it was already spoiled. Is our entire universe inside of a black hole? Short answer, no idea, but probably not. LOL. Okay, so real quick, let's define what a black hole is. This is from Wikipedia, a very scientific source. A black hole is an astronomical body so compact that its gravity prevents anything from escaping, even light. Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity predicts that a sufficiently compact mass will form a black hole. The boundary of no escape is called the event horizon. In general relativity, a black hole's event horizon seals an object's fate but produces no locally detectable change when crossed, which is very interesting. So black hole, really super heavy object in 4D space, pulls everything down toward it. Once you pass a certain threshold, there's no escape. You can't get out. You're inside this black hole. The part of this that I think is really interesting is that once you cross that event horizon, there would be no locally detectable change when crossed, which in theory means you wouldn't know. Why is this? Because inside of a black hole, this is, I'm not a scientist, but for my very limited understanding, time completely changes. It would almost, your time inside of a black hole, totally different from time outside. Okay, so next. So where is this new evidence coming from? In April of 2025, a paper was published, authored by Lior Shamir, and it basically surveyed, or they looked at a bunch of galaxies. They picked a point near the pole of the universe, I guess, and they looked at it, and 2/3 of these galaxies were rotating clockwise, and a third were rotating counterclockwise. Okay. At intergalactic scales, when you're looking at the universe and you're picking a point, any random point in this universe, the structure should essentially be the same in all directions. And what that means is there should be a roughly even split of galaxies rotating clockwise and the half rotating counterclockwise. This suggests that we might be living in a rotating universe. This means that the whole universe, so the universe inside rotates around a central point, which is where the Big Bang would have started. This is suggesting that it's doing that, but then is also rotating on a point outside. This is kind of hard to explain, but I think the best way to think about this is you have a bowl of milk. You're spinning all the milk inside, so now it's rotating around, right, inside. But now you also rotate the bowl. So you have like two different points of rotation. And that's what it's causing perhaps this discrepancy in rotations. There's also some interesting similarities between what we've observed in our universe and what we know currently about black holes. Black holes have a singularity, a point of infinite density at their heart, which is what causes the black hole. Our universe started with a Big Bang, which is basically a point of, it started with a point of infinite density. So if you think about structure, if you think about it like location, black hole, and if you think about universe cosmologically over time, Big Bang. Black holes have an event horizon, the one-way barrier where light doesn't escape. Our universe has a cosmological horizon, a limit beyond which we can't see, because as we know, because of dark energy and dark matter, the universe is expanding quicker than we can observe. So eventually, our view of the universe is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. There is a major difference, though. Everything inside of a black hole is converging on a single point, while our universe is rapidly expanding. So that would be like the major difference. So in conclusion, we're probably not inside of a black hole. Looking at a few selected faraway galaxies and analyzing their rotations and drawing conclusions off of that is only one variable. And the selection was very extreme to where you to draw a meaningful conclusion. So found out that their selection of galaxies, they had to filter out a bunch around them because of like pollution, like light pollution, and didn't meeting certain criteria, or they weren't clear enough through the telescope or space station telescope images. But thinking about the universe in this way could lead to other theories that could get us closer to the truth of the universe. So there's a lot, obviously, we don't know, right? Like, and as time goes on, in theory, we'll know less and less and less because of the nature of the universe as it expands quicker than we can see. But things like dark energy and dark matter, things that we really have no explanation for whatsoever, that seems to be a force that is pushing things away from each other at faster and faster speeds. They've called this thing like dark energy, and it's just theory. There's no proof of it, but it's a force that would explain why things are happening the way they are. So thinking about the universe in this way, changing its like location in time and space, could help scientists perhaps get closer to the truth. So probably not inside of a universe, or it's all just a dream and made up. The end. Bye bye.
The end.
And
Wow.
The end. Bye bye.
Wow. Fuck me.
Have you? Do you still watch the Science Channel, the Zorkheist, the animated Science Channel?
oh yeah, I don't watch it religiously, but I check out when I see something interesting. Yeah.
So they just put out a video maybe a week ago about how our understanding of the universe is completely fucked. Because of the last 10 years of research. But one of the things that they had mentioned, similar to what you were mentioning about looking at clusters of galaxies in like one area and then a bunch of clusters in the other area and like realizing they're not doing the same thing, is for the longest time there was this thought that, if you look over to the west of the universe, you should see the same stuff and the same science that's happening to the east of the universe, if you will. And they're kind of slowly realizing that's not the case. And they're taking a step further where our little cluster of what we can see and how science and physics and things work here doesn't mean that it's going to work the same way over there or however far. And that simple concept, I guess, is kind of breaking how we perceive or understand the universe currently. So that's fun.
It's interesting because physics is the laws that govern physics as we know them and as we've explored so far change depending on the scale that you're looking at. So physics works one way on a macro level, and when you get down to the really, really small, they operate completely differently. And so you would think nature and reality operates on certain laws. This is the way it works. You have gravity, or you have string theory. You have all these like things. They should work together in a cohesive whole. And at least from our current limited understanding, we can't see the big picture from our current technology and understanding. It just doesn't work. So that's the great mystery. I think that's the fun of it, right? Is trying to piece it together, but then also knowing we probably will never know as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I compare it to the croissant problem. So you can have a regular size croissant and it tastes really, really good. But when you scale it up 20% or 20 times, it tastes like shit.
Interesting. When you talked about the bowl example, it made me quite hungry for some cereal. I look at black holes like moles. They're just in the way.
Wow, in the way. Jesus Christ.
Wow. So if black holes were like actual entities, they'd come for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think it's a compelling theory. Black holes are quite interesting in terms of just how they work, because everything, at least in my life, that I've heard about them always seems contradictory or doesn't exist or doesn't make sense. I don't know if you guys remember the movie, what was it called? Mars? Or like the one...
Yeah.
And they
Mission to Mars?
Mission to Mars or something, and they have like black holes and they get ripped to pieces or something with black holes, like as it approaches Mars. Or maybe that was just a tornado on Mars. Anyway.
Wait, is this the one with he was in Forrest Gump?
Oh.
Yeah.
Tim Robbins
in it. Yeah, Mission to Mars.
Don Cheadle. First movie.
Yeah, Don Cheadle's in it. And it ends with it ends with Gary Sinise like staying and fighting the aliens
with the Martians.
Yeah. That movie. Yeah, there's no black hole in that one.
I don't think there's a black hole. There was a tornado though. There were tornadoes.
Yeah, they got ripped to pieces.
Ripped limbs off.
That scarred me as a child.
Yeah.
How much of your theory was based off Interstellar?
I mean, Interstellar. I mean, obviously, I was thinking about Interstellar a lot while even just looking at this for the 15 minutes that I did. 15 minutes, guys. I was like I said, like Arjuna said, I was going back and forth on a lot of conspiracy theories. Quick aside, so many conspiracy theories are so depressing because I'm pretty sure these are true. Like you could look at banking, you could look at just billionaire, you could look at all this stuff, right? And it's just so depressing. It's like, I didn't feel like doing a depressing one, so that's why I went in this direction. Interstellar, my favorite movie of all time, definitely influenced the decision. Interstellar, at the time that it was made, because it's kind of an older movie now, and there's obviously been more research since then. The time of it was made, it was as accurate as they could. At the time, they knew of what a black experience of a black hole could be. And so it's interesting because they presented the black hole as a construct of a future spoilers future humanity who live in like 5 dimensions instead of our limited 3 dimensions. The idea of dimensions like 4D, 5D, 6D, I think someone's tried to draw it out, and it boggles your mind. It's so hard to wrap your mind around.
Well, yeah, it hurts.
It hurts physically, yeah. But
well, it's
That's
because
it's the blockers they put in your brain.
Yeah, wasn't it because of like socially and philosophically, like we can look at the math for like 4th and 5th, and we can kind of get a basic understanding, but beyond that, we don't have the skill set to understand beyond how we think. Essentially,
yeah.
We have a brain essentially.
We would need AI augmented brains to figure it out.
Well, the problem with AI though is it's based on our current brain.
So when you combine them, so when you combine, it's like when you Super Saiyans, they combine their power exponentially.
Sure,
I got to marry the AI with the human.
Right, but if you take current AI and you were somehow to merge it with the brain, you would just get
Will Smith
dumb double human brain that's based on Reddit meme culture. So I don't know if that's gonna.
It's a race to the bottom, fellas. It's a race to the bottom. It's zero game some zero whatever.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So anyway, that was mine. Ravi, this leads us to the originator of this idea, Ravi. So why don't you go ahead?
I almost hit hang up
to know what your conspiracy theory is.
I mean, listen,
it's going to be the best one. I feel like we went from a normal one.
Dinosaurs, we are never real. Wow, that's real great grammar, right?
We're never real.
That's not. There's no apostrophe there.
This is amazing.
That says dinosaurs, we are never real.
Well, guess what? Don't worry, because that is not my theory or my conspiracy theory.
Oh,
instead, yeah, it was a fake out. I faked you guys out. The dinosaur sweater.
Yeah, damn,
it was all fake out. I faked you out. Anyway, we're talking the giant hole in Antarctica. The conspiracy to end all conspiracies in my mind. Bold statement here. I think every conspiracy relates to this conspiracy in some way. And I'm not talking about like Arjuna's NFL conspiracy. I'm talking like the real conspiracies: Bigfoot, Area 51,
Loch Ness,
the Loch Ness monster, the UFOs in the skies that you see, the recent reports of UFOs coming out of the ocean. All of that stuff, I think, originate or has a connection to the giant hole in Antarctica. So let's get into it. This is a rendering of what the giant hole would look like if you were standing approximately X amount of miles away. So basically, what is it? So basically, a couple of years ago, some keen eyes realized by looking at satellite images that there was this big black spot in satellite images of Antarctica. And then they kind of noticed other ones at various locations throughout the continent of Antarctica. And when they would kind of go back and look, they, at past images to current images, those holes would be suddenly gone, right? So what's happening there? So that's kind of like the origination of this. Some other people, when looking into the giant hole or the big hole in Antarctica, they'll refer to kind of these 4 main talking points. Polynias, which is a scientific term for open water in sea ice. It's how the water kind of separates and it creates this like big dark patch that looks like a black hole. And then what's referred to as an ozone hole, when you have a satellite, the satellites are above the ozone, above the atmosphere. So they're kind of looking through that, and there's light reflection, and that will sometimes create this. We don't give a fuck about those first 2. So forget everything I just said regarding those things. Fuck that. We're going to focus specifically on the satellite map anomalies and the hollow Earth theory. Again, like I said, everything ties in to the big hole. So this is some of the satellite images that people refer to when comparing from the past to the present. You'll notice this big floating ice area is now kind of covered up suddenly. definitely looks like the 2023 image has been doctored to some degree.
Okay.
You can't even get it out.
Just a minute. Sorry. The giant hole theory is personal to me. Sorry.
Crying. Crying. Oh.
Anyway, moving on here. This is more examples of satellite footage that was acquired by the History Channel.
What's going on? Do you believe in your theory?
You'll notice here, if you look at this image, the straight lines looks like a man-made structure. Part of the theory goes that the major nations of the world are aware of these giant holes, and they'll build structures to kind of cover them and conduct their research, make sure that the public is not aware of what's actually happening in there. And as you can clearly see on top of the structure, there's snow. So it's being covered. Anyway, that kind of is the general satellite take, if you will. Moving into hollow Earth, as we all know, the Earth is hollow. So these giant holes are actually entranceways into the hollow Earth. These are some artist renderings of what hollow Earth would look like.
Is there like a whole,
you draw them yourself
on the inside? What the fuck?
Yeah, so the idea is these are entranceways into hollow Earth. That's where Atlantis lives. Wang lives there. Hilar, you've heard of those places. And then also, it's are clearly down.
Wait, if they live down there, then there wouldn't be aliens. Aren't they Earthlings? If a species lives there,
Yes.
wouldn't that just make them Earthlings? They wouldn't be aliens if they live there.
based off Kong x Godzilla.
Oh my god, so many questions here. First of all,
well, actually, there is one last theory about what the giant holes are, which feels a little bit more realistic, and I didn't want to talk about it because it is kind of depressing because I feel like it is true. But the one theory that I came across that, again, like I said, is depressing is that they're building super bunkers for the wealthy and the important people down there. And the only reason I feel that is more compelling is because Antarctica is the perfect place to build something like that there. I can't go to Antarctica easily and fly a drone over, right? Most of humanity can't get there easily. You'd have to have the resources, the super wealthy, whatever, to do that. And the other big thing, Antarctica's like location again is well placed for kind of like major natural disasters in the world. Like if you were to like run there because of a major impact or whatever, you would, if you've buried your bunker deep enough, you would survive for a little bit. Like it would be harsh, but you would be ideal. So that theory kind of sucked because I was like, yeah, it's probably legit.
That's interesting because one of the conspiracy theories I was looking at before I decided against it was that everything happening right now. I said earlier, right? Race to the bottom. There was a group years ago who said the only way to save humanity is to destroy it and then start over. Or it's fucked. The only way, sometimes instead of trying to fix something, you might as well just start over. And so everything, all the actions taken by politicians and people in power is to destroy humanity and just start over from scratch. And that's why, you see all this like tariff war stuff and escalating tensions and climate. That's why climate change denial, because they're like, yeah, the faster we can just wipe out most of humanity and hit the reset button. So it's depressing, but that's a pretty popular conspiracy theory right now as well.
I do have a question. I just want to share one thing again. Did anyone notice anything about this screen? Let me pull this back.
Yeah, reshare. Yeah.
Because this is where I kind of lost it fully.
I mean,
I'll give it a minute.
The floating ice tongue.
Well, beyond that, look at the time, the date, the year. And I said this is
1937.
a satellite image.
Well, yeah, that's not real.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Why I
maybe
bring
that
this up
one
is because I found this on a forum that was talking about the giant hole, and they were all everyone agreed that yes, the one on the left is a satellite image from 1937.
But we
I
did
was
not
like,
have
oh.
satellite.
Well, that's another conspiracy theory. Is that the government had access to technology decades in advance of the public. The thing about conspiracy theories is this: you can take a conspiracy theory all the way. You can go as far as you want.
Sure.
And once you start with one conspiracy theory, it opens up the doorway to every other conspiracy theory. To make that conspiracy theory work and for those images to be real, you would have to believe in the conspiracy theory that technology, when it hits the public, has already
been
around for decades, and that the elites have been using it for decades, and that they only give it to us. So you could that's that conspiracy theory, right? The conspiracy theory of destroying humanity to start over, that one becomes plausible. Aliens, you touched on that they've been around since before Roswell. There you go, boom, they came from Hollow Earth. Even though there would be Earthlings, they wouldn't be aliens.
So I have one question, and one question
of course.
only.
Yes.
Krishna revealed he spent 15 minutes on his presentation. How many minutes or minute did you spend on your presentation?
So the order was this. It was originally going to be a discussion on the dinosaur, my fun little dinosaur thing.
Sure.
And then I was like, you're all expecting that. You guys are expecting it. So I wanted to come up with something else. I met someone recently who did want to discuss about like conspiracy theories, and is the one that actually looped me in on the giant hole theory. Like I had seen things in the past about it, but I never like looked into it. And when I started looking into it, which was all of about 10 minutes, that's when I saw that the giant Earth or the giant hole in Antarctica theory is a number of different theories jumping in. So in my timing and everything, I did use ChatGPT to give me the basic bullet points. And then I tried having ChatGPT like give me an actual PowerPoint with like visual aids.
Sure.
And it just wouldn't do it. It kept looping on itself and just making nonsense. So
probably because they don't want you to know about the conspiracy.
Yeah, it's keeping you from the truth.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So I just kind of threw this together in, I don't know, a minute or two. So I think
it looked clean. Look clean as hell.
I think in total, maybe 20 minutes, 25.
Oh, okay. That's impressive.
As long as mine, 5 minutes more than me.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Well,
wait, how long did you spend on yours, Arjuna? Or this is just who you are? You
I've been
this
thinking
since
about
day
this
one?
since day one. I was prepared.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't need any visual representation.
I thought I nailed the presentation.
The presentation was hilarious. I haven't laughed that hard in a while.
The commitment, like the crying halfway through.
That was great.
Emotional. It was like, and it made me cry. It made us cry. We were crying there. If you're listening to this audio, we are telling the truth. If you're watching us on YouTube, we are also telling the truth. So, real quick, let's go around and just give we've already touched on it a little bit, but just give us one or two of the other conspiracy theories you're leaning toward. I'll go first. This is kind of my favorite one. I was talking to Lauren, Ravi's wife, about it before we jumped on, but Disney created the movie Frozen to fuck up all the searches into Google about people looking up Walt Disney being frozen. And so they took 5 years, however long it did, to create the movie Frozen so that when people typed in Disney Frozen, they would be hit with the Frozen movie and not Walt Disney being frozen. And the two reasons, one reason being that they wanted to stick it to Google to fuck up the algorithm and just, for the laughs. And the second reason is that they're trying to keep people from learning the truth about Walt Disney being frozen.
What's interesting, though, is if you type in like Walt Disney Frozen, you get the AI overview on Google, and it actually breaks it down into the movie Frozen and the urban legend of his body being
AI AI has fucked Disney.
Potentially, yeah.
I will say this.
Maybe.
It's a
Gemini.
good theory. I would just say they didn't develop the movie for it, but I think in the development they're like, we have to call this movie Frozen, because if you watch the movie Frozen, there's probably like 5 better titles the movie could be than Frozen.
Like
Let It Go, based off of the hit song from the movie.
Never seen the movie.
You're not. I mean, it's for children.
you're not missing anything.
You're not. You're as a
I'm not
30,
a child
38-year-old man. It's probably not. It's
Bald
probably
man,
not.
too.
It's not made for you.
I don't like the cold because of my bald head as well.
Yeah, there's a lyric in the song called "The Cold Never Bothered Me Anyway."
Yeah, that's
I like the version of "Fuck It All."
Fuck it all.
That was a great like Vine clip thing from the like
Vine days?
2010s. Yeah, from the Vine days. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they remixed the song. It was like college students, specifically around like finals and end of the year and what am I going to do with my life after college? And it was just "Fuck It All," and it was like "School never hurt me anyway" or something.
Oh, that's a lie. Any other conspiracy theories? People were.
I had a conspiracy theory of all conspiracy theories, that conspiracy theories are fueled and operated by the elite to have people ignore the real things that are going on in the world.
Like what?
So if you I mean that's a good theory. I mean, I've told you guys about the documentary UFO on Showtime or HBO. It's a 4-part series, but the main takeaway of that documentary is that the idea of UFO specifically, in part, is a fake thing that the government has been using as a way to the typical magic trick of look over here while this hand does whatever. Is that there is no necessary aliens have like never visited here, but they've made it this big thing to distract the people from
That's when
what's actually happening.
Crazy stuff is happening.
Yeah.
When it is UFO. I've heard that too. It's a good one. Like right around when the tariff stuff was happening, all those UFO sightings started happening.
Yeah. Well, there was also the documents were released in Congress. There were all these hearings.
Yeah.
And then
Gilbert was pushing for it.
Yeah.
So
well, there's also that new one on Amazon Prime, Undisclosed something. And it never got a theatrical release or a proper streaming release. So you have to rent it or buy it on Amazon Prime. When you are in town, Krishna, we will be watching it because so I've been waiting to watch it with you guys because it's supposed to be one of the better UFO documentaries.
Can we turn off the lights?
We'll do a what's it good for it.
I like watching.
Go back to the original purpose of the pod.
Oh, but only specifically for this UFO
conspiracy movies.
Yeah, only for that.
Was it conspiracy?
Well, if there's no more than that, let's just.
I have one more.
Oh, you have one more.
This is an all-time favorite of mine, but I wanted to dive specifically into an individual. So I've talked to you guys about, like the royal family in terms of like when someone has died. Like I think for a while, Philip, who was the Queen's husband, I was like, this guy died like decades ago, and they're just pretending like he hasn't died. I think he is dead now, in real life, allegedly, but he died a long time ago. But I think that actually happens for a lot of celebrities and like high profile people. And the one I wanted to dive into, but I didn't have time to, was Paul McCartney. There's like a really popular theory that Paul McCartney died a long time ago, and that the guy we think is Paul McCartney is not actually Paul McCartney. And it goes to the album Abbey Road, where they're like walking across the street. He doesn't have his shoes on. So the theory is the reason he doesn't have his shoes on, it was like an ode because he died like right around the time of them making that. There's a lot of theories of like his voice changes, his looks are different, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I don't know much about the theory outside of the broad facts and strokes. I did want to dive more and like deeper into it, but that's like one of the more popular ones.
The other ones about like celebrities, like there's the Avril Lavigne one that she passed away in the early 2000s.
There's that one.
And then there's also the other one, which I think is there's the Eminem one. There's also the Mark Hamill one. I don't know if you've heard this.
Yeah, because he got into the big accident.
He got into the big accident, and it was that he had to get facial reconstruction, and everyone's like, no, he actually died, and they found a lookalike or whatever. So
weird.
Crazy people.
But we have a couple minutes left before we hit the hour. We already talked enough about the Patriots, so we're going to put that one away. Stranger Things thoughts.
It's
Yes,
back.
the conspiracy theory on Stranger Things that I recently saw was the brothers,
Duffer
Duffer
Brothers.
brothers, started reading Attack on Titan, the manga, and got into a discussion with the creator and knew that the creator was going to drive us all mentally crazy by taking forever with Attack on Titan. So the Duffer brothers were like, why don't we do the same thing?
Actually, I do. It's a kind of a business-related conspiracy theory, but I have been thinking about Netflix's strategy with Stranger Things, and I actually think, as much as people hate it and dog on it, it's actually worked perfectly because I think there's been enough time between seasons and lengthening it to build enough anticipation when these things come out. They're the biggest things on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, like they're the things that just everybody's consuming and talking about, and actually works perfectly for Netflix. And that's why they've kind of tried to go to this model for some of their more popular shows of like 2 years between every Bridgerton and like 3 years between a Squid Game. And it hasn't worked as well, but I think Stranger Things was just kind of the perfect formula to do that. And so my conspiracy is like, it didn't really take them 3.5 years to like write it and film it and all this type of stuff. I think they were just like,
Slow it down.
They slow it. Yeah, they actually told them to slow it down because also talking about like the talking point of them talking about the kids being adults has also kept it in the cultural zeitgeist and people talking about it. And it's also just another talking point where even the fans of Stranger Things who don't give a shit about the show are like, look, Stranger Things is coming out. The kids are like 40 years old, and it keeps it in the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait. So like, can we take the conspiracy theory one step further? Because like there are real world things that happened, like COVID delayed it. I mean, I'm not gonna say whatever with that, but like with the writer's strike, did they push for a writer's strike because it would help delay them a little bit longer?
Maybe that was part of the thinking.
Remember that writer strike that did absolutely nothing?
Yeah, isn't everything gonna be AI now?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Real quick, I guess just quick tangent. Because I don't know anything about this, but it seems like it would be a big deal. Netflix buying WB,
Warner Brothers. Yes, that deal is pending.
I mean, Paramount's trying to sue right now. So
but like
Paramount's trying to do a hostile takeover.
Paramount and Trump are involved.
Yes.
Well, yeah, the FCC has to be involved. There's going through
FCC
or SEC or whatever, and DMC, DMX, all of them are getting involved.
DMX is alive.
Run DMC, yo. Yeah, I'm like, I saw it and I was like, this probably is a big deal, and I who fucking cares?
I mean, it's interesting. I think 10, 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, like 20 years ago, the idea of a big studio buying another big studio was unheard of because it's a monopoly. Like, by all definitions,
antitrust laws.
It's a monopoly, but nobody gives a shit about that anymore because the companies are getting smaller and smaller.
It's been happening the whole time.
Well, it's because of the whole Skydance and Paramount thing. Once that went through, everything is open now.
Sure, and so I do think if the Netflix Warner Brothers deal goes through, it's just like the streaming wars is probably over. Like it's going to be Netflix.
It's been over.
Well, but officially, like Netflix will have won, right? They'll have the full library. They'll have a film studio. They'll have everything that they need to just kind of monopolize and take over. But it's the number one streaming service buying the number 3 streaming service. You know what I mean?
But didn't you tell me though that they're not getting the linear stuff? Don't you need linear TV still?
No, because they're going to sell that to a bank. You know, like going to sell that to somebody that doesn't want it. You know, like some of these other legacy media companies that shall remain nameless.
Krishna knows. Krishna knows.
But yeah, so I think that the deal is interesting. Now it's going to be a year or like 2 maybe before that's final, and then I think we might see the repercussions. But what does that mean? You know, maybe we're just closer to one
kill
company over everything.
Right?
That's part of it. Like, right? If Netflix is very anti-movie theaters, they've had a bunch of movies like the new Knives Out movie just came out. There's like the Adam Sandler, Brad Pitt movie, or not Brad Pitt, George Clooney movie that came out. Jay Kelly, like. They all had like 1 week, 2 week theatrical runs in big city markets,
right to Netflix,
and then went straight to Netflix. So I do think you're going to see more of that. And then if that's the bulk of the movies, right? If that's all the Warner Brothers movies, who just had like the most epic year in cinema in a long time, right? In terms of box office success and critical success with their movies, all of a sudden those movies are going to have 2 week releases. What does that mean? You know, in terms of just like what's coming out and how that stuff's going to go.
Isn't it because like I mean the you know, movie studios for the most part do things for middle America, right? Because that is where like
No, I mean the movie studio is not for middle America anymore. It costs $100
exactly.
for a family of 4 to go.
Right,
to the
that's what I'm
movies.
saying. So that's why Netflix is being smart with like,
Sure.
let's go fully in on getting all the good IP that these families grew up on. They're going to be at home. Let's pump them full of content. So
Interesting.
Yeah,
again, because it's the same. Like, remember, Netflix at the end of the day, it's an app, right? And all apps, especially like the apps on your phone, their main goal is to keep you in the app. As long as you're in the app, they're winning. So that's also why they're investing heavily in AI crap and
Disney
content.
just signed an AI deal.
Yeah, it's great. I can't wait for AI Star Wars.
But to bring it back to Stranger Things, I've enjoyed the season so far. I'm excited for the last 4 to see what happens.
The last 4?
There'll be 4 more episodes. There's 3 episodes coming out on Christmas, and then the finale on New Year's.
Huh.
Are you going to try and see it still in? Are you still going to try and see the finale in theaters, or?
I think it's sold out now, and didn't get the tickets.
Yeah, well, that's bad planning on your part.
You're not missing much. Fine, it's going to suck.
But okay, so you guys are both
kaiju
caught
battle?
up. You guys are both caught up. Any reactions to the big reveal that Will, like, has cool powers, or can siphon powers through?
It's about
use
time.
Vecna's powers.
Should have happened in season 2.
I feel like that was obvious, like the entire time.
Oh, for sure. But it's still cool. Cool moment.
Yeah, well,
The cool moment,
word.
like I said, and this isn't my thing. This is something. So Honest Trailers, the YouTube channel, did one for this season 5, part 1 of Stranger Things.
Yes,
and they kind of end it with like, "Hey, did we just figure out what this finale is going to be? Is it going to be Vecna trying to summon the giant kaiju monster thing?" And then they're all going to fight it with the power of friendship. The girl that 11 ran into in, I think, season 2 or something. 11 and then Will. The thing that will surprise, because I do think that's how it's going to end, but I think what will be amazing is if they lean fully into like kaiju and giant robots, and the government has actually been building a giant robot for fuck knows what reason.
It's a great theory. My
that
favorite
would be so good.
My favorite theory with the show, this has been out there. There's a lot of podcasts that have covered this, but leading into the D&D thing, right? 11 is number 11. Number 8 is 8, so that's 19. And then Will is using Vecna's power, who's number 1. And so their powers come to 20, right? Which is a nat 20 in D&D. So their powers will combine to defeat whatever the evil is at the end of the show.
I think
it's friendship. The power of friendship will beat it.
Yeah, damn it, I can't remember the theory, but
you had some good theories, Krishna. So before you started watching, Ravi, what Krishna was watching and like texting me his theories as he was watching, and he had some good ones that was I kind of wish happened.
Yeah, I forget what those were now. But the theory that I've seen floating around is that in D&D terms, Vecna is not the big bad; it's a different beast. Based on like stuff that's happened, but I forget.
It's a dragon.
It's Tiamat. Yeah. No, but I forget why. There's a really good reason based on like some stuff that's happened in previous seasons that this is leading to a fight with a dragon. Yeah, essentially. So
there's also a lot of time travel theories with the show, especially this last season of like time travel is going to be involved some way. A lot of people thought,
how they explain why the kids look so old.
But like they've had a lot of time travel references in the first 4 episodes. There was a big theory when Linda Hamilton was cast that she was playing an older version of 11, which still could be possible, but she's from the future and 11 making changes.
Man, really playing into Terminator there.
Well, that's a part of it. Yeah,
casting choice.
Why do you cast Linda Hamilton, like who's most iconic known for
good
something?
I kind of like that. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been cool if she used like 11's power suddenly. Actually, you know what? Going to that theory, how would they? I mean, I guess the military had all the research of the Hawkins lab, so they would know what to block. Plus, they had 8, so they could test it on her. All right, never mind. I was gonna say, yeah, maybe it is 11, and that's why she knew how to build whatever, but that doesn't make sense.
Well, that is going to do it, folks. What a wonderful, lively podcast that was on conspiracy theories, the Patriots, Stranger Things, WB, and Trump. Make sure to check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/wasitgood. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram and various other places. Just search Was It Good and or Was It Good Pod. I forget. That is all. Tune in to see when we do our next pod. We are getting together over the holidays. Maybe we'll have an in-person one. We'll see how we feel, see how the eggnog is flowing. Juna has some peanut butter flavored eggnog waiting. For
I
us.
didn't buy it.
Well, you sent the picture, so whoever smelt it dealt
Well,
it.
it's at Target. We're sponsored by Target.
So you took a picture
We're
of that.
not sponsored by Target.
You took a picture of that. You didn't buy that.
No, I took a picture of it while I was at Target.
Oh, I was like, Juna went all in and already bought the Christmas drinks. So never mind. We will not be trying the peanut butter.
Wow,
eggnog.
you just made him really sad, Arjuna. Good
All
job.
right, I'll get you your stupid
I was
eggnog.
going to mix some Nutella in it and just go crazy, but
I was
give
also
yourself-
at Costco and I saw the industrial size Nutella and I was like, should I
you
get that for
you gotta
Christmas?
buy it and then eat it and then give me an empty tub and be like, "Merry Christmas, bitch."
Dude, that would be really funny, actually.
Make sure you
Dang.
film it. I'll be like, but then Arjuna's in the hospital because he has diabetes. And
No. So what you do is you get the industrial size, you eat it or you empty it out. You make sure that you leave like the chocolate layer around the edging. So when you open it, you're like, oh my God. And then what you do is you fill it up with the correct amount of weight with like rocks or something
Peanut butter.
similar or some whatever. But then inside the Nutella at like the top, those really tiny jars, you put one of those in there. And that's what you get.
Russian doll Nutella gift. Oh my goodness.
Be the meanest gift ever for Krishna.
That'd be hilarious. I'm not gonna lie.
It would be.
I might do that now. Actually, I was like,
That's a lot of work though. That's too much work.
oh yeah. I mean, what would I do with all
Ravi's
that
gonna be
fucking
deep frying a
Nutella?
turkey. I'm looking forward to that.
Are you deep frying a salmon?
No.
You're not gonna be there, so why would I?
When I'm there.
Oh yeah, no.
Thank you so much for watching What's It Good. We will catch you on the flippity. Have a great and safe holiday season.